Through him we have also obtained access by faith into this grace in which we stand. And we rejoice in the hope of the glory of God. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. You are being made into something eternally beautiful.
We are in this Lent series, Beauty for Ashes, Beauty from Ashes. And so for those that have been in the church, growing up in the church, you maybe have visited different ministries, been a part of different ministries. You maybe are brand new in this congregation, you may be watching online. The truth is, there are billions, like I've said, week in and week out, there are billions with a B, billions of Christians around the world that are in this season of Lent preparing for Easter. And in the season of Lent, though they may have different titles for their series, they may have a little different wording for each week in the messages, the whole heart is the same. The church of God beats right now in preparation for Easter together, and it's called Lent, the season of Lent. And it's basically this. I got a quick definition here for you. Lent is the period of 40 days before Easter during which many Christians do not eat certain foods or do pleasurable activities as a way of remembering the suffering of Jesus Christ and what is truly important. Christians also use this time to remember it was from ashes that we were made and ashes that we will ultimately return. And so if I could kind of sum up this whole week or this whole series, this time of Lent, in this it would be, this is the season of stripping away. And I mean it like this. In fact, probably only the older folks in our congregation are going to really get this, because as I'm getting really close to the 40-year-old mark, I'm only beginning to understand this. But the older you get, the more you realize so much of the temporary things that you hang on to, you can't hang on to, and they begin to be stripped away. I mean, for those that have lived long enough to watch a lot of your friends pass away, for those that have lived long enough to watch your spouse pass away or a best friend pass away, for those that have lived long enough that you know what it means to have your body fail you, literally fail you. For those that have lived long enough to, some out here, you're young enough, guys, even our hair is failing you, or failing us, right? Right? Pat the bald guy next to you. No, just kidding, don't do that. That would be inappropriate. But the truth is, man, we know that so much of this world is temporary. It is being stripped away. And the danger is we have a tendency as people to learn to love, to grab tightly onto these things that are ultimately not going to last. We way too often love what is ultimately going to be stripped away. In fact, in ancient, like if you go back and read a lot of ancient historical authors, thinkers, Christian authors and thinkers, what they used to talk about, they would say that the true you is the remainder, what's left over after the temporary has been pulled away. And for many people, once all the temporary is pulled away, there's not a lot left. You have given all your heart to your money. And when it's stripped out of your hands, there's not a lot of you left. You've given your heart to your job, and when it's stripped away, there's not a lot of you left. You've given your heart to whatever it is, your looks, being young, being beautiful, and when it's stripped away, there's not a lot of you left. And so the ancient scholars used to say that the best thing that we can do, oh my goodness, hear this clearly, the best thing that we can do is make sure that the truest you that you form cannot be stripped away with this entropic world, right? It's coming to an end. It can't be pulled away. The truest you. And Lent is a season where we remember what is truly true, and we also spend time allowing that stripping process to take place. So with this in mind, we want to come to this week. So the other part about Lent is Lent sermons are usually heavy all the way through the Lent series. So just be prepared, another heavy message. This is what Lent is. The celebration is on Easter. Right now we're focusing on this downtime. Easter is the celebration. So I've kind of titled today's message, or I have titled it, Only Christ. Only Christ. Only Christ. In preparation for Easter, I've been rereading through just Roman history, specifically the fall of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire. that time, that transition in there. So Julius Caesar, for those that know your history, any history buffs here? Like any nerdy view? I love it. How many just love to read history? I do too. I love it. I love to get in and just to read through these books and go through them. All right, so those that know your history, this is post Julius Caesar marching on Rome, taking over, moving into power. We all know, those of you that have studied this stuff know that Caesar was loved by a lot of the general populace in Rome for a couple of different reasons. I mean, he was a really strategic guy on a number of fronts. One of them was this. I don't know if you've noticed with Caesar. In fact, I got a little picture you can put up here. It's a picture of his bust, right? Those of Caesar, you can't really see it. You can see a little bit of it. He was famously known to wear this little wreath around his head, the leaves. And one of the historians was saying that the leaves were tied into this. So as a soldier, when you would go to war and your comrades would go into like a battle and the battle would grow really, really, really heated and then somebody was in danger, the brave men that would run into the danger, risk their own lives and rescue their brothers in arms in the middle of heavy fire combat kind of a deal and pull them back out, they were honored with this like leaf ring that they would put on their head to show the other troops, this guy is committed to the people and he is in. And so Caesar would wear this when he would walk among the people because he was a war hero, when he would walk among the people in Rome, and every time they'd see him in that wreath, this one historian would say that the general people would go, oh my goodness, he is for us. And what he means by for us is so many of the regular Roman families had either a son or a daughter or a niece or an uncle, somebody was in their military, and to know that their emperor would fight, risk his own life. At that point, he wasn't fully king, right? He hasn't become truly emperor yet. But as a leader, he would give his all to protect those people. Was a really big deal to the general Roman populace. And it made him trusted. So trusted that he was one of the only leaders ever in Rome to be able to walk the streets with no guards. The other thing that Caesar would do that was so powerful for his people is that in the military, when they would go and they would conquer, he would allow his soldiers to take some of the conquered goods, including even people and slaves at time, as their own. And every time he would do this, it would make the families back home wealthier. As the Roman Republic was coming to an end, and the world was being prepared for a whole lot more reasons than I have time to go into now for the Roman Empire to be launched, there was one prominent theme among the normal people in Rome. Things were not right under the Republic, and just maybe Julius Caesar could fix all of the injustices that were being done to the regular people. Of course, by the time he died, and Caesar's comet flies through the sky, and his nephew is then literally made king, the empire is formed. But it was all based on this hunger inside of the general populace that maybe Caesar could make it right. But then we can even fast forward. I mean, this is the story of humanity. We started this conversation last week. Then we can jump forward and we can go all the way into our own American history with lots of little glimpses of this all the way through the human story. We can jump all the ways to ours with the Declaration of Independence. I mean, come on, we remember studying this, right? So you got Thomas Jefferson. If you guys love this famous painting, I love this painting. It shows like all the different drafts. I remember the first time I saw this, what was going through my mind is, I wonder how many times, I mean, they didn't have like a computer, like backspace, and they didn't have like the editing software. Like right now you can type it out and then it automatically corrects it for you. They didn't have any of that. So I wonder how many of these, right? I mean, just how many different pieces of paper, how many attempts they went through to get this right. I don't know. That has nothing to do with the sermon, just thinking out loud. But here we find, man, Jefferson, and even in this, with the general population that was here in the newly formed or being formed United States that was coming together, it was this hunger inside them that they believed that they were being mistreated, and they wanted to be separated out from those people. They wanted to make it right because something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. So in Philadelphia on July 4, 1776, those that know your history, a unanimous vote to stand against Great Britain and the tyranny as they saw it happened, and we formed this new nation that we hoped, we believed would make all things right, make things right. In fact, we even pinned it, I love this, in the Declaration of Independence. These are such powerful words. We hold these truths. Okay, I'm going to put this before you just so you can see this. This is the heart, right? Now notice how this is worded. And if you go back and read through Roman history, read through Greek history, right? If you go through all of the history of humanity, you find different variants of this, but the same hunger continues to emerge over and over and over again. You ready? We hold these truths to be self-evident, right? What are these truths? That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator and with certain unalienable rights. Think of how many times through history a people group gets mistreated, and then that people group is fighting to go back that all men are created equal. This is not a new story in humanity. Over and over and over and over and over again, whether it's the general population in Rome, whether it's the Jewish, back when they had the Jewish, with Judas, not Judas Iscariot Judas, but the Judas prior to Jesus' birth with him, and they were fighting Rome to bring meaning and freedom of religion back to the Jewish people right prior to the coming of Christ. The whole human story is trying to bring honor to people that feel dishonored, right? And then it goes on even better in our Declaration of Independence. We are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that all men, we kind of know this deep inside, even if you're not Christian, people feel this deep inside, that among these are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How many times through human history have we pursued variants of this? And how many times have we moved to empires, and empires fall, they crumble? I came across this is really good. This is Dr. Robert Weber. It's a book that I read quite a while ago, different parts of it, and I'm rereading it again with the worship arts team. It's great. And Dr. Weber says it like this, the idyllic in studying this, the idyllic description of the garden in Genesis. So I want to pause there for a moment and imagine in your mind the Garden of Eden, like things operating right. I've always wondered, just suppose with me, I believe this, but I know some here are not believers. Just suppose with me, and I want you here. By the way, if you're not a Christian, you are most welcome. But just suppose with me that the garden was real. This is the picture that's painted in the Bible. It is a picture of everything operating right. Who knows how old Adam and Eve, or how many years they were on the planet writing this? We do have a death date for them that's offered in Genesis, and a number of years attributed to them. But who knows how long things operated there before the fall? Listen to the way he words this, the idyllic, what a great word that Dr. Weber chooses. The idyllic description of the garden in Genesis is a picture of how God wants his world to be and how God and humanity commune. This is what Weber is saying that the Bible is describing as perfect for humanity. This picture is one of relationship, and Adam and Eve in harmony. I love this word. He comes back to this over and over again in his writing. Harmony with God, with each other, and with nature. So the picture of heaven that Weber uses over and over again is right harmony. Things work right. Your body operates right. Your brain operates right. Those that are battling with depression or anxiety, whatever it might be, those that are having relational issues, those that feel alone, those that go down the list where you work really hard and the land doesn't produce for you. Literally, the word in Genesis, right, that we translate is toil. You toil, you're giving your all to try to make it, and it's like things are not working right, no matter how hard you work, how difficult it is, how hard you try in your marriages, and marriages fail. Things are broken. They're in disharmony, as he would say. And the Garden of Eden is one of things being right. My son asked me the other day, driving down the road, he said, Dad, if they made a pill where you could live forever, would you take it? And I thought, if forever means forever with the current news, the current state of the world, and the current way in which my body works, no. No. I do long for eternity, but I long for eternity in right harmony. Do you see the difference? It's not just living for forever. It's not living for forever in this mess. It is getting right harmony. Our hearts long for heaven and miss Eden. With this in mind, I want to go to the text today. 1 Corinthians 1:18 through 31. I'm going to read this. It's a little bit long, but very good, okay? You're going to have to think. Paul, I'm quoting Paul out of Corinthians. Paul is deep. He's a deep thinker. You got to turn your brains on. Paul pushes us to think. For the world of the cross, this is 1 Corinthians 1, starting in verse 18. For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the discernment of the discerning I will thwart. Now listen to how pointed his statements are in the next couple of moments. Where is the one who is wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? You got to remember, this is on the cusp of the fall of the republic and the rise of the empire and the awareness of how awful it is when one man or a few men have so much power. He's literally saying, where is all of your wisdom? Look what your wisdom produces. Look what it's giving us. I watched an interview the other day with one of the survivors of the shooting in Florida, and man, he was just berating the generations before him, saying, look at the mess you've given us. You thought you were building utopia. Look how miserable we are. Humanity has been saying this all along. Every generation thinks that it's the other generation's fault, but every generation thinks that. Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since the wisdom of God, the world did not know God through wisdom. It pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe. For Jews demand signs and Greeks seek wisdom, but we preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to the Jews and folly to the Gentiles. Their answer to what actually saves the world, the smart people go, foolish, foolish. But to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ is the power of God and the wisdom of God. For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. Verse 26, for consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you, now notice this, he's literally looking at the Christians, or speaking to the Christians in Corinth, and he's going to call them dummies in the love of Jesus. Listen to this. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. That's a nice way to say it, I like it. Not many were powerful, not many were of noble birth, right? So here I am with unwise, non-powerful, non-noble people. It's great. That's the church. Love it. But God chose what was foolish. Oh, well, now there's a clear statement about him. In the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are. When God himself chose to come on this planet, he came as a powerful emperor with tons of money. No, that's not right. When God chose to come on this planet, he came as a poor country boy to a pregnant teenage mom. So that no human might boast in the presence of God. And because of him, you are in Christ Jesus, who became to us wisdom from God, righteousness and sanctification and redemption, so that as it is written, let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. All right, we're going to take this text apart. Okay, now remember, we're in Lent. This is heavy. Lent, heavy. Lent, heavy. The stripping away. We have one question to wrestle with that we're going to wrestle with this morning. You can pull more from this text, but one question we're going to wrestle with this morning. We have one propositional idea. It was awesome. Our worship arts team, Kathy actually saw this. It was really good. Propositional idea. And we have one answer to humanity's struggle. And we're going to work through these based on what Paul offers to these people in that geopolitical situation right on the cusp or right after the cusp of the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire, right after this had all played out. We have one question to wrestle with, and it's this. Can humanity make its own answer to fix what is broken? This is the question that humanity has been wrestling with. I mean, since Babylon all the way on. I'm talking from the Tower of Babel to Babylon, all the way on to Rome, all the way through to America. It is the assumption that we can fix what is broken. I mean, hear me clearly. Those that want to ban all guns want to do so because they know people are broken and we need to take something that dangerous away from them. People that want to keep guns want to barricade themselves in and protect themselves from all the brokenness that's outside. But both people want the same end goal. This world is broken and I need to protect myself from it. Can you see it? Amen. They both are fighting for the same end goal. I mean, listen, here's the deal. I could wrap every human in bubble tape. You know, like the wrapping tape that you ship stuff with, the shipping bubble tape, all the way up to their heads, take away every sharp object, even no paper cuts, right? All the way up to their head, put a helmet on them, and even like a special feeding tube where they're not likely to choke on it, and roll them around, and they're still going to be evil in their hearts. And on the other end of it, I could swing the pendulum all the way to the other side. And I could just arm these families, that are out in the country, put them in a barricade with tanks out front and machine guns on their front porch. And they would have to protect themselves from the evil that's out there. Because the real true problem has always been in here. And we've tried over and over every nation, the rise and fall of nations, Babylon on, Rome, all the way through to America. Everybody assumes that we can fix what is broken. And Paul speaks directly to that in Corinthians. We were sitting in our worship arts meeting, and Matthew Hines was like, he Googled the top self-help books that are popular today. Oh, this is going to be fun. Comically, I've read a handful of them already, just because I like to read, and I'll often get on and just see what are top books and just to check them out and see what's there. And one of them I actually really like. Two of them I actually really like. But I'm going to read just 7 of them, just the titles of 7 of them, and I'm curious if you've read them, okay? Are you ready for this? Self-help books. Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy by Dr. David Burns. I don't know if anybody's read that. So Feeling Good, that's the trick. Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. Anybody read that one? Now we're getting into books that you might have read, yeah? 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. A bunch of us have probably read that one. Right habits, that's what's going to fix it all, right? Stephen Covey. The Last Lecture by Randy, and I never know if I say his name right, that he was the professor. This is actually really interesting if you've not read this. By Randy Pausch. I'm not sure I'm saying his name right. But The Last Lecture, anybody read? That's really interesting if you've not been through it. Or how about this? Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Dr. Carol Dweck. That was a really good book too. Actually, I found it really intriguing. I've read it. Or The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, and I'm not sure I'm saying his last name right either. I've not read that one, only descriptions of it. And then Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. Where would we be without a Tony Robbins book, right? I love that he calls it The Giant Within, because that guy's basically Goliath reawakened today. But in this, we basically have this, right? Now listen to it. I'm going to give you the main ideas of these books and let you see how silly they are. So the marketing people are really good at giving creative titles. Here are the basic ideas of the books. Are you ready? Listen to how they even contradict each other. Master your thoughts to your liking. That's the way to peace. Master your habits to your end objectives. Live relaxed and willing to ride the tide of life, and don't obsess over all of these things you're trying to conquer. Be a positive thinker and stop focusing on all the negative stuff, or energy as they would put it. And then the next book, Run Deep into Your Hurts. And tackling all of your hurts will give you, do you see where I'm going with this? Humanity is constantly trying to fix it. Nothing new, thousands of years, same problem, it's off. We even find ourselves in the medical field, the countless amount of money that's been spent trying to figure out how to fix our bodies and make them work, squeeze out just a few more years out of this existence, whatever we can do to pull it off. Even now, it's a really big deal to come up with medication that helps numb us to what's broken. Everyone is trying to fix it. So we have one major question to wrestle with. Can humanity make its own answer to fix what is broken? It's pretty clear if you turn on any of the news agencies, we're not making good progress, and we're not much further along than we have been thousands of years ago. We may move forward on one and then fall totally off the cliff on another. Number 2 is this. We have one propositional idea. The best of humanity can't fix what is truly broken. So that big question leads us directly into this statement. 1 Corinthians 1, 20 through 25. I love the way he words this. It's almost in this powerful, questioning way. Where is the one who is wise? Who's got the solution to this? Marx, Kant? Marxism, communism, that's it, society. Maybe it's thinking right. Where is your wise? Where is your wise? Where is your scribe? Where is the debater of this age? By the way, being educated into a debater was a really big deal back then. Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God, the world has not known God through wisdom, it pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe. For Jews demand sign and Greeks seek wisdom. This leads us directly into the third part, and we're going to be done in just a few moments. We have one answer to humanity's struggle. One answer to humanity's struggle. I'm going to invite Josh up, and we're going to be done in just a moment. The answer is this: Christ crucified. Christ crucified. Now, for those that are thinkers, this would be me. I would be wrestling in my brain with, Christ crucified? That's not a battle plan. Like, what does that even mean, Christ crucified? I know things are off. I know there is disharmony. I know the world isn't operating right. I know that people aren't getting along. I know that people that want to experience every sexual desire that they have, they're looking for peace in their hearts. And the people that want to control how that is all expressed are looking for peace in culture. Everybody's seeking this harmony, some way to find it. Those that demanded and were standing behind Trump, and the lady that's screaming, wailing out front when he was elected president, all know that something's off and are looking for a person or a way to fix it. They're all searching for a fix. They all see the disharmony, they feel the disharmony, and they want it fixed. Then you have Paul speak. I mean, thousands of years ago, the same answer echoes through history. Every time humanity thinks it has an answer and it collapses, Paul's voice grows louder, not softer. And he just says, Christ crucified. All right, there's two ways to look at this. There's the didactic one, and then there is the mystery, the didactic and the mystery. And I want to speak to both of those. The didactic answer might be this: die to self and follow Jesus. All right, here would be a good one. Die to self, follow Jesus. Love what he loves, value what he values, do what he does. Let the fruit of the Spirit be who we are. Right, so all of the work of salvation was done by Christ on the cross, but the means in which we live in waiting for his return is love what he loves, value what he values, do what he does. This is why he says over and over again in the Bible, follow me, follow me, follow me. Literally, do what I do, act how I act, value what I value, invest in what I invest in. If Christians would just do those things, how different would our world be? This is why we as a church are so obsessed with making a global difference, not only a local difference. But there's another part to this. The mystery. The mystery. C.S. Lewis says it so well. He basically says in one of his books, he says, it is impossible for us to ever write a complete theology. Like, no theologian, no book on theology, no commentary is going to have it exactly right, finalized, done, T is crossed, I is dotted, put it to print, we got God figured out. It's not possible. In fact, Lewis says it's logically impossible to do that. Because, all right, now, I'm going to do my best to walk you through the mystery, and you need to know that even this description of the mystery is flawed and imperfect. Even the description of the mystery is going to be flawed and imperfect. In your mind, I want you to imagine a prism. Like my grandma had one when we were growing up. And you could go into her living room, and when the sun would come up, it would go through the window, pierce through the window, hit the prism, and it would shoot this light out, this rainbow out on the floor. Have you ever seen those? And the way the Bible describes God is the attribute, literally the full attribute of love. God, that is God. Prior to the creation of the world, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit are in this like wonderful relational perfect harmony. We are created out of perfect harmony, and all of humanity longs for harmony back. We don't know how to get there, and we don't agree on it, and we may go even war after the same end goal with each other. But my goodness, our hearts were created from harmony, and we long to have harmony back. So God's love is like this ever-growing, ever-increasing. He is the full attribute of love that is in a state of making more beauty always and forever. Contrast that with a whole universe that is in entropic decay, right? Like we're running out of energy. God is like the ultimate power source, and it is love. I mean, I love the way, I know I'm taking too much liberty with this, but even like the unmoved mover, I always go in my brain, love is the unmoved mover. And I know that's not exactly what Aristotle intended with that, but even in my mind, I wonder that, like this ultimate on switch. And so it's like love pierces this central idea of Christ crucified, perfect example of sacrificial love, hits this prism and it blows out into this beautiful rainbow, but then it hits more prisms of each of us and it blows out into beautiful rainbows and more people, more believers, and it's like this ever-growing, magnificent expression of love. And there is mystery to this that I can't entirely wrap my brain around, but I know this: you are called to be a part of the expression of right love. And the only way to express right love is in submission to the perfect harmony maker, God. And when you partake in this, you become a part of that prism that blows this love out, literally spreads it out into the world, and you make more people that spread it out, and it continues to grow. God lets us join in on this glorious, ever-growing process, and it is absolutely a mystery that I can't answer on a Sunday morning. So what I want to do today is this. This is the season of Lent. The assumption that man can fix it. And the reality that only God can really make right what is disharmony. If you would, grab the next steps cards in the back of the chair in front of you, pull them out. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to use those, but I'm going to have a really broad question I want to ask you. Pull out the next steps cards. Make sure everybody's got one. The person you're in disharmony with next to you, make sure they got, I'm just kidding, you don't have to, you're really pushing it on them, be like, you need this, you probably need it too. Here's what I want you to do on the next steps cards. I want you to reflect before the Lord. Now, if you need to make a decision to follow Jesus, as I'm saying this, it's just hitting you. Wow, you're right. Only Christ. Humanity can't fix this. And my assumption that I can fix it, my assumption that the government's going to fix it, my assumption that more money will fix it, my assumption, whatever it is. If you see that and you're not a Christian, you're going, you know what? I'm in. I want to give my life to Christ. I've tried every other avenue. Jesus first. Mark it on the card. We want to follow up with you. It's so cool that we have people making decisions for Christ, right? Defend his faith, defend the truth, it's his. If you need to make a decision to be baptized, you want to make a public proclamation that Christ is number one in your life, mark it on the card. We have more baptisms coming up. If you want to make a decision, right, to rededicate your life, put it on there. But here's what I want to ask for everybody to reflect on. Is there an area in your life where you have tirelessly worked to make what's in disharmony into harmony? Is there some spot? And here's the thing. Every one of you in your unique spot in life are going to be aware of disharmony in a different way. So for you, your disharmony might be like with your neighbor. Your disharmony might be in your marriage. Your disharmony might be with a child. Your disharmony might be with the nation. It might be with the political system. I don't know. But what I want you to do is I want you to write out the places of disharmony in your heart. Where is your heart not at ease? And in just a moment, we're going to come forward and we're going to go, Lord, there is disharmony in this broken world, and I don't even know what the answer is. But God, I'm going to lay this before you as the only one who really is the answer. And you can drop it off in the box, but I want to encourage you to do something else. Maybe for you, you need to literally, in an act of submission, come forward and go, I have this disharmony in my heart. Is literally destroying my peace. It's making me anxious. I cannot sleep. I mean, I am going crazy over this, right? And maybe it's a friend of yours that has a disharmony that's totally off and they can't operate right. Whatever it is, there's disharmony and you need to come forward, lay that on the altar, hit your knees for a moment and go, God, in this visible way, I submit before you this disharmony. I cannot make a solution, and I ask that your beautiful harmony could speak into this brokenness. Christ crucified. if you would be so brave as to pray for a friend or lay something in your own heart before the Lord. You can drop it off in the box. I encourage everybody to do that. And if you want to spend time in prayer at the altar, do that too. So go ahead, take your card, write it out, the places of disharmony that you feel in your heart, and then in a really beautiful way here in just a moment, we'll invite you forward to participate in this prayer process. Go ahead and write, reflect before God. We just want to thank you for watching the sermon online. If God is working in your heart, we would love to hear about it. You can go online, www.encountertrinity.com/nextstepscard. You can fill out information there. Let us know what God is doing in your heart. If you need help with anything, we would love to help. Counseling, we would love to do anything that we can to help you go to that next level spiritually. When you fill this out, it goes to one of our pastors. It is private, and we will take care of that information to the best of our ability. We love you, we care about you, and we want to see God do great things in your life. Have a great day.